Alright, so today I'm going to be installing this reverse osmosis system. You can see there's actually 5 filters. There's 3 on the bottom, 2 on the top, and we're going to have a water tank so we can store some water. Alright, so here's what the kit comes with. It comes with a tank, has 3 filters right there, and you can see there's a top piece where it has 2 more filters on top. We're going to end up putting those together as per the instructions. Comes with one little faucet that's going to go on the side of your sink or of your current setup, and then it comes with a whole bag full of tools. So here's the recommended list of tools that it says that you should have. If you'll notice, it talks about a drill bit. We will need that to drill in for the drain line, and then it also talks about Teflon tape. I noticed in the container it actually comes with Teflon tape, so you won't have to worry about that one. Phillips head screwdriver should be pretty easy, and then of course it looks like we need some opening wrenches or adjustable pliers. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is make sure you have a little hole drilled in your countertop space to fit this extra reverse osmosis faucet. It doesn't matter if it's on the left or the right side, but you need to have one. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is actually put in this faucet. Now, in the instructions, they actually say to do this last. I looked at the instructions and I really don't see any reason why we can't put this first. And I'd like to do it first because I want this hose to be underneath the sink. So while I'm doing all of the hose work, I don't have to stop, come up from underneath the sink and put this in and then continue on with doing the hose work. So I'm going to put this in first and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so you can see by the box, the instructions show you the way to do all of this. You can see right here we have a lock nut. This is our countertop, by the way, right here. This is the base of where the faucet's going to sit in. And this here is a black plastic locking washer, they call it. It looks just like this. Okay, and then there's also going to be a split washer right there. And that's the next thing that you're going to see. The split washer looks like that. So I personally think the easiest thing for us to do is just to grab this piece that goes basically into the bottom of this and just put your hose through it. And you could do this right now and just bring it all the way around completely and match it up to your faucet just like that. And then the next step that we're going to do is we're going to take all of this and we're going to stuff it into the hole. And once it's in the hole, after I wrestle with it, we have our faucet sitting up there. Now what we need to do is go to the underside of the faucet and we're going to install these. And the order that we're going to install them is this one's going to go first, this is going to go second, and then this is going to go third, just like the diagram. So I'm going to go underneath there right now. I don't think I need to show that. I'm just going to put it in this order up underneath. When that's done, your faucet should look like this. You should have your handle out to the side like that, and you're ready to go. Okay, so the first thing that it talks about doing is, of course, we want to take these outside. I'm gonna put them up right, but we want to take them out of the packaging. Looks like you have to be smarter than the packaging to be able to do that, which I'm having some trouble with. So we're going to set these canisters right next to each other. Something you need to be aware of in the instructions. If you'll notice, it says that there's a first stage, there's a first stage right here, a second stage, and a third stage. And you can see how this is sitting. So right now, it's basically how I have this laid out. So the reason why this is important, and you can see in the canisters, there's 3 filters that came in them. And I'm going to show them to you right now. And you can see 2 of them look the same, and 2 of them look, or 1 of them looks different, and the other 2 look the same. So here's what actually needs to happen. This one needs to be in the first stage. These are in the second and the third stage. So it tells you this in the instructions, and you can see there's different model numbers on each one of these. And it basically says the one with the 2 same model numbers are going to be your second and third stage. This one looks like just a white, I don't know what that is, it's kind of neat, but that's gonna be your first stage. So I'm gonna take all the plastic off of everything. I'm gonna make sure that I put these two for my second and third stage, this one in my first, and then we'll start putting them on. Okay, here's one of the filters that has the plastic off of it, and you can see it does not look like it matters which side goes in first. So I just want to make sure that you understand that doesn't matter. And those three canisters, if you mix them up, that's not going to matter. They look all identical. So make sure you, after you take off the plastic, put two in one in the other. We're going to start putting them on. The next step is to make sure that every one of these canisters contains, and you could probably see in there, this rubber gasket. If it doesn't have that rubber, that black rubber gasket, then you're going to be having some trouble. So what we want to do right now is we want to grab this piece, and you can see it tells you on it, third stage, second stage, first stage. So the first one that we're going to end up doing right now is the third stage. And the third stage, as you remember, is one of those identical pieces. So we're just gonna start screwing it on there, and it kind of fits in there. You know, to be honest, it looks like to me it's gonna be easier to stick this on here, upside down. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that and see if that works, but it looks like it's gonna be easier to do it like this. Because there's a hole. Well, it's a good thing I put that upside down. There's paper in there. And it goes counterclockwise. So the best thing, in my opinion, is to go upside down and put it in. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put these upside down for the others. The reason why I say that is because if you'll notice, you've got this piece right here, and if it doesn't line up just right, then you're going to be fumbling around with that. So really, to me, it just seems a lot easier to stick it on there, hold it upright, and then just get your paper out. Make sure there's no paper. And you do want to be careful that you don't lose your O-ring. It looks like by going upside down, I did lose my O-ring. So just be careful that that does not happen. But you can actually put the O-ring on there first. And then screw it down. To me, that seems like the easier way to go. But you decide whichever way you want to do it. To me, that seemed like it was pretty easy. Hey, something I noticed other than this paper was in each one of these and you couldn't really see it. You definitely want that out of here. It talks about when to change your filter. So anyway, make sure you get the paper out. I noticed it was kind of dirty in here. So what I did is I just ran a little bit of water, cleaned it out. Do not lose your black O-ring because of course you definitely need that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in, but I just wanna make sure that you're aware there was paper in there and there might be a little bit of dirt, so you wanna clean it out. Okay, so the next step is to take this wrench, that's what this is, and tighten these up. So you just take it and grab it around this, and you can see you can easily just tighten it up by using that. You want them to be good and snug, don't go too crazy, but make sure they're snug, that way you don't get a leak. So I'm gonna do that with all three of these, and then that should be good. I'm gonna go over this diagram for just a minute, just so I can show you where we're at. Okay, so we have this thing basically completed because we've put all the filters in and that's ready to go. And you can see on this chart that comes with it, it shows you where all the lines go. So this is going to be going to our cold water only. And the cold water, in this case, they're showing, they actually don't show it here, but they show in the book, you can connect it here at the bottom next to your on and off valve, or you can connect it up to the top. I'm gonna connect it here at the bottom. The other thing that we have is there's gonna be a black hose that comes from this. That black hose is gonna go over to our drain pipe. Okay, but right now we're really focusing on this piece right here. And then of course, at some point we're gonna go with our yellow to our tank. And then from the tank, Is it the tank? I'm sorry. Then it's going to be from this one. You can't see it. It's a white hose, but there's going to be a hose that goes to our faucet. So anyway, let's concentrate right now on this piece, and we're going to talk about that part that came with it. The next thing we're going to talk about is these pieces here. This came in a bag with this little white piece, and you want to keep that. And then these 4 things came in a bag. And here's how this works. Underneath your sink, we're going to connect this. And depending on if you have 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch, 1/2 inch is going to be the bigger one, 3/8 is going to be the smaller one. You're going to arrange this in a way to make that work. So let's say that you have a 3/8 inch. You're going to stuff this in here, and you're going to put this on here. You're going to tighten it down as far as it'll go, and you can see that side's going to be 3/8 inch. This side's going to be 3/8 inch. If you don't have that, if what you have is, I shouldn't have put that in there just yet anyway. If what you have is 1/2 inch, then what you're going to want to do, as soon as I can get this out of here so I can show you, is switch it around the other way like this. But you're going to want to use this O-ring inside here. And then you're going to screw it in this way, and you'll see that that's going to be a 1/2 inch connection. That's a 1/2 inch connection. Now, depending on which way you do that, it depends on what's underneath your sink, what size you have. Because you're going to want to put Teflon tape on this. So here's your Teflon tape. What you're going to do is put it on it to where it's just below the top of the threads. You definitely don't want it there. And then you just wrap it around pretty tight. And you can wrap it around about 2 or 3 times. Don't get above. And then just pull really tight and it breaks off. Okay, and what's going to happen is this is going to go in here, if it would focus. Okay, while my camera was trying to focus, I decided to turn this the way that I need it. I need the 3/4 inch for both sides. What you want to do after you get it the way you want it is you take, this is a 15/16, it fits around this one, and then an 11/16, it fits around this one, and you tighten them up as tight as they'll go. Now, I've already done that. Now what you need to do is you need to take this little piece right here, and you need to tighten it into this. So I'm going to go ahead and hand tighten as much as I can, and then I'm going to use some pliers to tighten it even more, because we definitely don't want this to leak. Although, yeah, I'll do a little bit more with some pliers. So that's the next thing that you need to do, and then we're going to go underneath the sink and see if we can get this thing installed. So here's underneath the sink. What we need to do is figure out what is the cold side versus the hot side, because what we're going to do is install this to the cold. You don't want to put this on the hot. Okay, so my dishwasher is right behind this wall right here, and I can see that that goes right to my dishwasher, so that is the hot. And over here is my cold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and once we turn this off, you want to go ahead and go to the right and make sure it's off. And I'm going to use a bucket. Of course, that's probably not going to help because it's directly above it. But now that it's off, I'm going to disconnect this hose, and then I'm going to put the one that we just did in place of this. And of course, you will get some water leaking out. Oh, actually, I had almost nothing. Awesome. Now I went ahead and put some Teflon tape on the top threads, so you might want to do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and connect this now. This is going to go here. And you know what? I really should put some Teflon tape on that. I'm going to put some Teflon tape around the top of this, and then I'm going to screw this down. So I'll be back after I get that done. I put Teflon tape on it. I'm going to go ahead and put this on it. Of course, I'm dripping water everywhere. This needs to be in the bucket. And I'm going to get some pliers or the right tool to make sure that this is all the way down on it. In this case, it's our 15/16 I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it up just a little. I want it to be snug. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put our connection back on top of this whole thing. And I believe this was a 5/8. So we're gonna tighten it up. All right, and then you want to put the 15/16 below to hold it while you tighten it on. Okay, once everything's all tightened up, what we want to do is test to make sure that we don't have any leaks. So I'm going to go ahead and try that now. Make sure that your valve here is all the way turned off. That's in the clockwise position. It's off. I'm going to turn this on. We should not have any leaks. If we do, of course, we want to turn it back off as soon as possible. So I'm just going to let it sit on there for a second, see if I see any drips. So far, I don't see any. You could wipe around it to see if you feel anything. It's going to be, looks like it's going to be pretty good. All right, I'm going to admit to something that I should have done and I didn't. This washer here, this rubber O-ring, it actually goes in the very bottom of this part right here. I did not put it in. I actually forgot to put it in, but I did Teflon tape, so honestly that's good enough. Now if I wanted to, I could take it off, put this back in, and it wouldn't even need the Teflon tape, but I'm going to stick with what I have. But when you put yours in, do this O-ring and then you don't have to worry about the Teflon tape at all. Alright, I'm actually going to go off of the directions here. The directions want you to continue installing more stuff underneath the sink. I'm actually going to do this because I think this is going to be easier to do. They say that you can mount this if you want on the wall. You can see that there's in the back of this thing, I'll show you, there's actually mounting locations right here. I'm not going to mount it. You can actually just stand it up just like this. I'm going to put it underneath the sink just like that. But here's what I'm going to do. If you notice, according to this chart, what we want to do is connect A to the red wire, and then what we also want to do is connect the top of this to a G to the yellow wire. Before I start throwing this thing underneath the sink, I'm going to do that because I don't want to be fussing with these connections. I say wire, it's actually tubing. I don't want to mess with these pieces of tubing up underneath there. So one of the things you need to do, and I'm going to see if I can get a close-up of this so it's real easy to see. I'll rotate this around. Alright, so what you need to do is this. You push this down. You see how I'm doing that? You push this down and you just pull this out. Okay? If you don't do that, you try to just pull it out, you can see it won't come out, and you don't want to break this little piece right here. So you push this down, pull it right out, and it easily comes out. So if I remember correctly, it said that the top of that was going to be the yellow cable. So I'm going to go ahead and take my yellow cable and just push it in there pretty good and snug, and you can see it won't come out. Now I'm going to do the same on the other side with the red one. Okay, I tipped it off to the side. You can see the yellow one is right here. I tipped it to the side. We're going to once again push down on that little spot, pull this thing out. We're going to discard that piece. And then what we're going to do is take our cable and plug it in as far as we can go. I keep saying cable. I don't know why I'm saying that. Tubing. You want to plug the tubing in as far as it'll go. So now, if I back out here, you'll see we have the red and we have the yellow. And the black is actually going to be our drain. Don't disconnect that. Just leave that there. In fact, the instructions say if for some reason this drain is not long enough, you don't want to disconnect it. You want to basically add some sort of coupler to it to continue the line. If you look at this, I'm going to zoom in on it here. This connection right here, we're going to push it in like we have been. And as we push it in, we're going to pull that out. And I'm going to take my cable. This is my white cable that came from the faucet. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in now because it'll be a lot easier to do it here than underneath the sink. Okay, so everything's plugged in. Now I'm going to push it up underneath the sink. and you can see my cable came from here. Just make sure you don't get it on the wrong side of your, your cabinet. Okay, now we're going to be dealing with these parts here. These parts came in a separate bag. You can see this one is sort of a little foam piece. And what we're going to do, and you can see by the instructions, they say that you need to pick a location under the sink of either this piece or this piece here. So if you look under my sink, you can see I have a whole lot of this pipe here going from one sink to the other. And then I do have this I can do, but I think, because there's so much here, and this just seems like a lot more space, I'm probably going to put it somewhere in here. So what you're supposed to do now is take, I think it says, a 1/4 inch drill bit, and we're going to drill a hole in the pipe. And it says to do it in the side of the drain pipe. So I'm going to drill a hole right about there. Be careful not to go all the way through the pipe. You definitely don't want to do that. So then the next thing you want to do is you want to take your little foam piece here, and it says that what we need to do is stick that on our spot. So we're going to do that. It's right on there. Okay, this actually looks like it's going to be pretty simple. Basically what you want to do is your bolts are going to go on the front. You're going to put this on the back. I'm just going to hand tighten this for a minute so I can at least get it on there. Yeah, if I could ever get it on there. Okay, I'm going to do the same with the bottom. And you can see I'm not even close. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten this down to where it's about snug. Once I get it snug, I'm going to move this back and forth until I can get that exactly lined up in the hole. And you can see through the center of this. So you can move it back and forth till it gets exactly right, and then cinch it down all the way. You want to tighten a little bit on the top, a little bit on the bottom, because of course, if you tighten too much at the top, and then you might have some trouble with the bottom. So just do a little of each side. The next step at this point is to basically take out the tank. You can see there's a stand right there. You can set it on that. Well, let me just show you this. This is an air valve at the bottom. It actually unscrews, but you don't want to touch that. It's already pre-pressurized. You don't have to do anything to it. I think it says that the pressure is 100 psi. What we're interested in, and I'll zoom into that, is the top right here. So what we want to do with this top is it did not have Teflon tape on it, so you want to wrap that with Teflon tape, and then we want to go ahead and put this top on it. And what you're wanting to do, well, if you would put it on right, gosh, okay, you don't want that to happen. All right, so you put it on the right way, and you don't want to go over tighten, but it's a 13/16. I'm just gonna make sure that it's nice and snug on here. If you overdo it, you could crack this, because of course it is just plastic. So that's probably, you could probably just go hand tight. That's probably enough right there. I actually wanted to aim, let's see, it says close, open. Yeah, that's probably fine. I'm fine with it aiming in that direction. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put this back into underneath the sink, and I'm gonna start connecting everything up. I actually have a lot of room underneath my sink, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my tank over there on the side. And if you remember from our diagram, you're always gonna wanna refer back to this. You may or may not be able to see this really good. I'm not sure how it's showing up, but basically our yellow cable is gonna go to the tank. So I'm gonna hook that up here in just a second. Our red cable is going to come back over here. I don't know if you could see me, I'm over here, to our little guy. So we're gonna unscrew the front of this, And here's one of the things that we're gonna do. Ooh, okay. You're gonna need this. This came off with this, okay? And then you're also gonna need this little piece that came originally with that. So here's what you're gonna end up doing. I'm gonna take the end of the red right now. All right, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna make sure you have this right. Okay, so the threads are gonna be that way. You're gonna put it down. Then you're gonna take this piece right here and you're gonna slip it over. And then you're gonna take this other piece and you're gonna put it into the end of the tube and push it in there really tight. That way it doesn't collapse. And then you're gonna get that up to the end and you're gonna do it like this. And this is how it's gonna look when it's all done. And you're gonna connect it to our spot over there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then of course, our black cable, you're just going to push it in. Okay, here's something I noticed about the black drain that I wanted to tell you about. So what I did is I ended up loosening this back up so it can move back and forth. I'm putting this in here. I know about how long it is. I'm putting it in here and I'm just moving it until it actually goes in the actual hole that we drilled into the pipe. And I just wanted to just barely go in there. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna screw this down and I'm gonna tighten this. Okay, I've got everything hooked up. That took a 1/2 inch. The red threaded piece over here took a 1/2 inch to tighten that down. We already talked about this over here. I connected the yellow one over there to the tank, and you can see that the valve is this way, and I'll show you on the paper here to make it a little bit more clear. Basically, if your connection or your valve is I guess opposite of how it's coming out, that's in the off position. If it's in the same line as where the tube comes through, that's in the on position. So of course we want it to the on position. That's where we're at right now. So now what we want to do, since our water, I believe it's already on, it is, what we want to do is open this up and hope that we have no leaks. So here we go. You can hear it coming through. And you want to start checking to make sure that you have no leaks. If you have leaks, of course, what you want to do is turn it back off, and you want to go through and see if there are any areas that you can spot where you need to just maybe pull the hose out and put the hose back in. It should be fine, but of course, you're not going to be able to check to see if there's a leak in this. Well, actually, I'm sorry, you can see this right away. Yeah. As far as I can tell, I have no leaks. To hide all the hoses, I put them in back of the reverse osmosis filters and all that, just to make it look a little bit better. But as far as that goes, I think we're done. Before I forget to mention, we know what this tool was. This is what we used to tighten down all of the 3 big canisters that went on the bottom with those filters. This one that's also in the container is for the filter on top. There's a big filter on top. This guy right here, and you can see there's some threads right there. So that's what that's for.
Okay, so after you've waited about 2 to 3 hours for this thing to charge up to have enough water for you to use it, you then need to let it run until it actually runs out. The whole first tank you don't want to drink. So I'm going to come back after this has been running for, probably 5 minutes to empty it out. You'll just see it trickling through. Once it's trickling through, and I'll show you what that looks like, then we're going to let it charge up for about another 2 to 3 hours, and then everything should be safe to drink. So this is what it looks like when it's empty. So this has been running for probably about 5 minutes, and you can see it's now just barely trickling out. So I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to let it charge up for another 2 to 3 hours, and then it should be ready to drink. And
if you're interested in purchasing this reverse osmosis kit, please look in the description below. You'll find the link where to purchase. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped you. If it did, please give us a thumbs up. maybe even subscribe. Check out our other videos. Thanks.